Hi everybody, it's my privilege to welcome you to the 2 Corinthians course for the spring 2015 term at the Pentecostal Theological Seminary. Certainly hope that you had a productive and restful Christmas break. For those of you who were involved in J terms last month, I hope those went well, and now we are back into the regular grind of the semester. I don't really feel the need to introduce myself this time around because I've had almost all of you in former classes, which is a real treat and a lot of fun, and I really appreciate so many of you re-upping again in one of my courses. Do want to give a special hello to Deborah, Fred, and Matthew, who I've never had the privilege of having in a course before. Welcome to you all. My name is Josh Rice, and I'll send out a personal introduction later today if in case you want to know a little bit more about me. Only thing I want you to know now is that I have a passion for the Corinthian correspondence in the New Testament. Many of you had my first Corinthians class last fall. Part of that class is to look at segments of the book that I wrote on 1 Corinthians, and you may have noticed that in the final segment of that book I draw some preliminary avenues for research, specifically for applying my model of New Testament leadership to the letter of 2 Corinthians. So I'm excited to have the opportunity to teach a full-length class on 2 Corinthians. I've done this over the summer before, but that's a lot more compressed. We can take our time and really move through this letter in a way that I think is going to be meaningful for all of us. Let me talk about the guts of the class. For those of you who've had me in an online platform before, there's really no change. I have a specific way that I do this. I want to call your attention to the textbook. There's only one. It's by Frank Matera. I think you'll find it very readable and engaging. And I'll be supplementing the textbook readings each week with various articles and other snippets that I think will aid our learning in the class. Week to week, rather than online posting, my approach to online education is to ask you to turn in a 2 to 4 page reflection paper on the readings by Saturday night each week. I then post one of those reflection papers for the entire class to read by Monday night and to offer comments on the discussion board. I find that this helps me engage your work in a more professional manner so that you can be assured I'm actually reading what you're writing each week and giving you a grade. And it's a pretty easy rhythm to fall into once you get the hang of it. That's all laid out in the syllabus, by the way. The second two components of the course are a term paper, which we'll talk about once we get toward the middle of the class. I'll give you a guide to walk you through how best to do that. And the third part of the class is either a sermon, a manuscripted sermon, or a Greek exam for those taking the class for Greek credit. Guidelines for all of these assignments are laid out in the syllabus, which you can download from the unit right here, Unit 1 below. This week you're going to be doing a couple things. The first is reading 2 Corinthians in one sitting, which I know you'll find to be a very productive exercise. Pay attention to what strikes you. Obviously, if you've had my 1 Corinthians class, your head's going to be spinning because so much has transpired in between 1 and 2 Corinthians, and we are in fact jumping into some ongoing written correspondence between two parties, between Paul and the Church of Corinth, not all of which is extant, or not all of which we have. So jumping into the middle of this conversation gives me a little bit of whiplash, and there's a lot of historical reconstruction to do to figure out what's happened in between 1 and 2 Corinthians. The second reading assignment will attempt to answer that question. It's simply the introduction in the Matera commentary. We'll be looking at the history of Paul's relationship with the Corinthians, and we'll also be starting to look preliminarily at questions of the literary integrity of 2 Corinthians. There are some questions whether chapters 10 through 13 belong there at the end of the letter, a segment in chapters 6 and 7, same questions. They may have been shifted around a bit in the manuscript tradition, and those are important conversations for you to be conversant in as a graduate student now taking a course in 2 Corinthians. So I think that's all you need to get up and running for the unit. If you have any questions as we get started, please don't hesitate to email or call. My data is both in the online platform and at the top of the syllabus. So looking forward to this study with you this semester. God bless.